It started with a whisper from a hospital bed. 7-year-old Emily James, frail and fighting stage 4 leukemia, looked up at her mom and said, "If I only get one wish, I want to meet Donald Trump." Her mother, Heather, was surprised. Emily didn't come from a political family. They didn't talk much about politics. But over time, Emily had seen Trump on TV and in magazines, and she saw something different. Not the divisive figure adults debated about, but someone who seemed powerful, funny, and kind in his own unique way. To her, he was a real-life superhero in a suit. Heather asked again, just to be sure. "Are you really sure, honey? Anyone in the world and you choose him?" Emily nodded firmly. "I just want to see him once." With her daughter's time running out, Heather sprang into action. She posted the wish online, tagged influencers, emailed Trump's office, and reached out to local news. She didn't know what to expect. Maybe nothing. He's a former president, after all. Busy, surrounded by security, advisors, and constant media. Why would he pay attention to one little girl in a hospital bed? But that wasn't the end of the story. Because a few days later, everything changed. Just when the family had accepted that Emily's final wish might go unanswered, the phone rang. And what happened next stunned them all. 4 days after Heather's post went viral, her phone rang while she was folding laundry. The screen showed private number. Normally, she wouldn't answer, but something told her to pick up. "Hello," she answered cautiously. A calm but official voice responded, "Is this Emily's mother? Please hold for Mr. Donald Trump." Heather nearly dropped the phone. A few seconds later, a familiar voice, unmistakable, came through. "Heather, this is Donald Trump. I heard about your daughter. I want to meet her." Heather was speechless. It wasn't a staff member or an assistant calling on his behalf. It was Trump himself, reaching out, voice warm and genuine. He asked about Emily, how she was feeling, what she liked, and if she still wanted to visit him. When Heather said yes, he didn't hesitate. "My team will arrange everything," he said. "Don't worry about a thing." Within 24 hours, Trump's private jet was on standby. He covered every cost: flights, accommodations, medical assistance, and even a pediatric nurse to travel with Emily. There were no news crews, no press releases, no flashy headlines, just quiet, sincere action. For the first time in weeks, Heather saw hope light up in her daughter's eyes. Emily smiled again. She packed her favorite stuffed bunny, a red hat that said hope, and asked, "Do you think he'll remember my name?" Heather smiled through tears. "Sweetheart, I think he already does." The sun was setting over Florida when the James family arrived at Mar-a-Lago. Emily, dressed in her favorite pink dress and red hope hat, looked out the car window, her eyes wide. "It's like a castle," she whispered. As they stepped into the grand hall, the door opened, and there he was. Donald Trump walked in, smiling, and immediately knelt down to her level. "There she is," he said, arms open wide. "The brave little girl I've been waiting to meet." Emily ran to him without hesitation. For the next hour, the world slowed down. Trump gave her a personal tour of the estate. He let her sit in a big leather chair behind his desk and pretend to sign important papers. They played a quick game of Uno. He even brought out 2 bowls of ice cream, double chocolate chip, just like she liked. They talked about her favorite animals, pandas, her dream of becoming a veterinarian, and how she loved drawing. There were no reporters, no flashes, just kindness. Heather and her husband stood quietly nearby, watching with tears as their daughter lit up like she hadn't in months. Emily giggled, whispered secrets, and told Trump he reminded her of a cool grandpa. He chuckled and said, "That's the best compliment I've gotten in years." In that hour, Emily wasn't a patient. She wasn't a girl counting down her final days. She was simply a child, living a beautiful moment with someone who made her feel seen, heard, and special. When it was time to leave, Emily hugged Trump tightly and whispered, "Thank you for making me smile." He looked her in the eyes and said, "No, thank you for being strong. You're a hero." As the family prepared to head back to the airport, Trump handed Heather a sealed envelope. "This is something for later," he said softly. "Open it when the time feels right." 3 weeks later, Emily passed away peacefully in her sleep, wearing the same red hope hat and clutching her stuffed bunny. She had told her mom the trip made her feel like a princess. The funeral was intimate. Family, friends, and nurses gathered to celebrate a life that touched so many in such a short time. After the service, Heather remembered the envelope. She opened it quietly in her living room. Inside was a handwritten letter from Trump. It was heartfelt, expressing his sorrow, admiration for Emily's courage, and gratitude for the chance to meet her. But there was something else. A check. A large donation in Emily's name to a children's cancer foundation, and a second check to help cover the family's medical bills and funeral costs. There was no publicity, no press release, just pure private compassion. Heather wept. In a world often full of noise and division, someone with global influence had taken the time to honor a little girl's wish. Not with cameras, but with heart. And it meant more than the world would ever know. Weeks later, a family friend posted about Emily's meeting online, sharing a photo of her hugging Trump and wearing her red hat. The post went viral within hours. What touched people wasn't politics, it was humanity. The story was picked up by news outlets, influencers, and even people who didn't support Trump politically. Many admitted they were surprised. "I didn't expect to be moved," one comment read. But this was just beautiful. The hashtags Emily Strong and Hope Hat began trending. Parents of sick children shared their own stories of hope. People from across the country sent messages to the James family saying how Emily's story reminded them of what truly matters. Then came an announcement from Heather. She was starting a foundation in Emily's name, dedicated to helping grant wishes for terminally ill children whose dreams fall outside the usual boundaries of celebrity or fame. She also shared that she'd received another letter from Trump, this time thanking her for sharing Emily with the world. Trump never made a public statement about it, and maybe that's what made it more powerful. This wasn't about a headline, it was about a little girl who saw someone powerful, not as a politician, but as a person. And that person responded, not with policy, but with presence. In the end, Emily didn't just meet Trump. She reminded millions that kindness doesn't wear a party badge, it lives in the moments we choose to care. And that changes people forever.